Just like a time bomb going off, suddenly that innocent idea, which an innocent author had written in an innocent library book, exploded. It was a fine Saturday afternoon at our house, with bright sunlight on the snow and the weather just right for coasting. I was standing by our kitchen sink, getting ready to start drying a big stack of dishes, which my mom had just rinsed with steaming hot water out of the tea kettle. I was reaching for a drying towel when Mom said, "Better wash your hands first, Bill," which I'd forgotten to do, as I do once in a while. I washed my hands with soap in our bathroom, came back, grabbed the towel off the rack by the range, and started in carefully wiping the dishes. I didn't exactly want to. The clock on the shelf said it was 1 o'clock, and the gang was supposed to meet on Bumblebee Hill right that very minute with our sleds. We were going to have the time of our lives, coasting and rolling in the snow and making huge balls and snowmen and everything. You should have seen those dishes fly. Well, that is, they started to. "Be careful," Mom said, and meant it. "Those are my best dinner plates." "I will," I said, and I was for a while. But my mind wasn't anywhere near those fancy plates Mom was washing and I was drying. In fact, I thought there wasn't any use in washing them anyway because they weren't the ones we'd used that day at all. They'd been standing on the shelf in the cupboard for several months without being used. "I don't see why we have to wash them," I said, "when they aren't even dirty." "We're going to have company for dinner tomorrow," Mom explained, "and we have to wash them." "Wash them before we use them?" I said. It didn't make sense. Why, that very minute the gang would be hollering and screaming and coasting down the hill and having a wonderful time. "Certainly," Mom said. "We want them to sparkle so that when the table is set and the guests come in, they'll see how beautiful they really are. See? Notice how dull this one is?" She held up one that hadn't been washed yet in her hot, sudsy water, or rinsed in my hot, clear water, or wiped and polished with my clean, dry towel, which Mom's tea towels always were, Mom being an extra clean housekeeper and couldn't help it because her mother'd been that way too. And being that kind of housekeeper's contagious, like catching measles or smallpox or mumps or something else boys don't like. For some reason, I remembered a part of a book I'd read called Alice in Wonderland. It was about a crazy queen who started to cry and say, "Oh, my finger's bleeding." And when Alice told her to wrap her finger up, the queen said, "Oh, no, I haven't pricked it yet," meaning it was bleeding before she'd stuck a needle into it, which was a fairy story and was certainly crazy. So I said to Mom, "Seems funny to wash dishes before they're dirty. Seems like a fairy story, like having your finger start bleeding before you stick a needle in it." I knew she'd read Alice in Wonderland because she'd read it to me herself when I was little. But Mom was very smart. She said, with a mischievous sound in her voice, "That's a splendid idea. Let's pretend this is Bill Collins in Wonderland and get the dishes done right away. Fairy stories are always interesting, don't you think?" Well, I didn't right then, but there wasn't any use in arguing. In fact, Mom said arguing wasn't ever polite, so I quit and said, "Who's coming for dinner tomorrow?" I wondered if it might be some of the gang and hoped it would be. I didn't know one of the gang who would notice whether the dishes sparkled or not, although most of their moms probably would. "Oh, a surprise," she said. "Who?" I said. "My cousin Wally and his new baby sister?" Oh, perhaps you know I had a homely, red-haired cousin named Walford who lived in the city and had a new baby sister. Mom and Dad had been to see the baby, but I hadn't and didn't want to. And I certainly didn't exactly want to see Wally, but I would like to see his wacky Airedale, and if Wally was coming, I hoped he would bring the wire-haired dog along. "It's a surprise," Mom said again, and at that minute there was a whistle at our front gate. I looked over the top of my stack of steaming dishes out through a clear place in the frosted window and saw a broad-faced, barrel-shaped boy. Holding onto a sled rope, he was lifting the latch on our wide gate with a red-mittened hand. Another boy was there, too. Hardly looking, I could tell it was Dragonfly, because he's spindle-legged and has large eyes like a dragonfly. He had a brand-new cap on with earmuffs. Dragonfly was forever getting the gang into trouble because he was always doing harebrained things without thinking. He was also allergic to nearly everything and was always sneezing at the wrong time. For example, just when we were supposed to be quiet. Also, he was about the only one in the gang whose mother was superstitious, thinking it was bad luck if a black cat crosses the road in front of you, or good luck if you find a horseshoe and hang it above one of your doors in your house. Well, just as Poetry had the latch of the wide gate lifted, I saw Dragonfly make a quick move. He stepped with one foot on the iron pipe at the bottom of the gate's frame and gave the gate a shove. Then he